So, as discussed earlier, where money comes from, or monetary counting units, dollars, yens, euro, rubles, lira, is currently in most countries today is primarily coming from uh, commercial banks. And while that's true, that's where the actual monetary counting units are coming into existence, are being created. There's another way of looking at monetary counting units, these units that we transact and exchange all the time for our labor and for goods and services. And that is to say that they originate, or they belong to something called a monetary system or monetary systems, because there are multiple monetary systems on the planet. There are, the euro, there's the dollar monetary system, there's the renminbi monetary system in China, and so on. And I'm going to suggest to you that these monetary systems, while they're not something that many of us have heard of, like we've heard of economic systems, or social systems, or other education systems, that these monetary systems are very real, and that they are one of the most important systems that most people have never heard of. And so, in order to put them in context, it's important to differentiate them from something that they often get confused or overlooked or combined with, and that is economic systems. So many people have heard of economic systems such as capitalism, socialism, communism. There are actually many, many, many economic systems. There's state capitalism, there's market capitalism, there's management capitalism or asset management capitalism. There's people who have studied economic systems have determined that there are many, many flavors of these different economic systems, but these are the top kind of three flavors that many people are aware of. And an economic system is the rules that guide the production and distribution of goods and services within a particular country, within the economy of a particular country. And so in capitalism, the rules are that generally it is the people with the money, the people who have accumulated the most money, that have the ability to determine, to own things and determine, when things will be used to produce goods and services, and who will those goods and services will be sold to, and therefore who will have the benefit of those goods and services. In a capitalist country, it's the owners of the private capital or the private assets that get to make those decisions. In socialism, it is the society as a whole that gets to make those decisions, and so much of the private property, or much of the property, is collectively held, or there are rules that require that property owners make those the productivity of those that farmland or those factories available to the general public at a fair price, and ensure that elderly people and children and so on have access to the resources that they need to survive, and so on, and on down the line. These are the rules of economic ownership and agency. The monetary system is quite different. The monetary system directs any monetary system, directs the production and distribution of monetary counting units, not goods and services, monetary counting units. Those are, again, individual dollars, individual francs, individual euros, or individual yen. And what that means is that if you look at the answers to these questions, the types of questions that you would ask about an economic system versus a monetary system are quite different. So like I said, economic system is who owns and controls the means of production, the actual land and resources, and so on. And in the monetary system, the question is who decides and enforces what is a legal unit of money belonging to that monetary system. Again, this is clearly a question of counterfeiting. Who decides what would be a counterfeit dollar, or what would be a counterfeit euro? And then who has the right to create new units of that money? So who has the right to create new units of dollar that are not counterfeit, that are recognized by the monetary system authorities as belonging to that monetary system legitimately. And then when and for what purposes can money issuers create new monetary accounting units within that monetary system? And then finally, how and when are units of that monetary system uncreated or destroyed? And those four questions are the four questions at the heart of any monetary system. And so, why is it important that that we make this distinction? You've certainly heard of different monetary systems, such as the gold standard or fiat currency, or you've probably heard of digital currencies these days, and these are different monetary systems. And for each of those, you can look at each of them and answer these questions. Who's deciding what's a legal unit within that monetary system? Who has the right to create that unit? When and for what purposes do they have the right to create that unit? And how and when are the units uncreated? And what's important to recognize is that there is not a one-to-one relationship between these economic systems and these monetary systems. You can have a capitalist country that's using the gold standard, or you can have a capitalist country that's using fiat currency, or you can have a capitalist country that's using digital currency. And in fact, in history, we've had all of that. In fact, we've had the same countries switching between monetary systems while keeping the same economic system, such as the United States that was on the gold standard and then went to fiat currency and is now currently contemplating moving to a digital currency. And we've had the reverse. We've had countries that were on the gold standard while they were capitalist and then were on the gold standard while they were communist. So there is not a one-to-one relationship between the economic system and the monetary system. This is very important. They are separate systems. And one of them, the monetary system, has these four key design components, these four key design decisions that are baked into them. Again, it's who decides and enforces what's a legal unit of money, who has the right to create new units of that money, when and for what purposes, and how are they created, and when are they uncreated. And so today, most countries have outsourced, as we talked about earlier, money creation to commercial banks. So less than 10% of their money in circulation was created by the government or the central bank. That is because they've outsourced their monetary systems creation function, step number 2 there, to private commercial banks. And when is it that private commercial banks have the right to make new units? Whenever they have a borrower that's willing to sign the dotted line saying that they will repay those monetary accounting units. And there's more to it that we'll explore further, but just to say that these four questions and some sub-questions under them are very useful for looking at different monetary systems and seeing that those changes, like I was saying earlier, where you've got a single country and a single economic system, but the monetary system has changed 2 or 3 times underneath while it was still the dollar the whole time. The system changed. The monetary system changed. And what we're going to see in these videos is that those changes are very, very substantial. They are very important. They, as you can imagine, how much money is flowing into the economy and for what purposes has a big effect on the economy and on the country and on the society. And so these under the hood tweaks to the monetary system that are sometimes imperceptible because it's still the dollar. It's been the dollar the whole time, and it's still a capitalist country. It's been a capitalist country the whole time. But the monetary system has changed dramatically multiple times just in the last 100 years. And so anyway, what you're going to see later is that interrogating the answer to these questions, looking at different periods of time, really reveal a lot. But if you're looking at those 4 questions and you're like, man, that is some technocratic, math details, that seems way outside of what I care about or what matters to me anyway, what I want you to know is that the same thing is true for me. I don't actually care to spend my life trying to debate with anyone the particular answers to those 4 questions of the monetary system design components. What I want to know is I want to know that whoever it is that's responsible for managing the monetary system in the country where I live, and hopefully everywhere that anybody lives, that they are managing those four questions. They are making sure that the answers to those four questions are compatible with good outcomes for society. So, for example, transparency into what is being funded with fresh new money that's being added to the economy. So when fresh new money is being created out of thin air, and put into the economy as a result of our government's, our agreement with our governments that we will have a monetary system that is supplying money to the economy, what is being brought into existence? What's being paid for with that fresh new money? I believe that that should be a transparent, answerable information. It may not be the case that every transaction in the entire economy that uses money should be transparent. There's privacy, but when the money isn't coming from any private household or any private corporation to 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 go into the economy, it's not a private transaction. This is the creation of a brand new public instrument, a new dollar, a new euro, a new yen. I believe that information should be transparent. Similarly, I believe that we should be able to review what fresh new money is being created for and put into the economy to ensure that the way that it's being put in the economy or the quantities and so on are not exacerbating inequality. Hopefully, in fact, when we have fresh new money to put into the economy, we are doing it in ways that keep harmful inequality in check, or maybe even repair some of the harmful levels of inequality that we're experiencing today. I would also, I want to know that when new money is being put into the economy, that it isn't being done in a way that is overriding the sovereignty of local peoples. So, my favorite example of this is that in the 1950s and 60s, $500 million highway funding bill in Congress in the United States resulted in thousands of cities getting highways paved through the centers of their towns, even when they did not want that and they protested it. But they did not have the choice or the power to redirect that funding to something else. Another example is social sustainability and ecological sustainability. I think it's important that when we have fresh new money being added to our monetary system, that it's being put into the circulation in the economy in ways that are not harming our environment and are not undermining the well-being of the people who are actually doing the work. So all of that may seem a bit abstract, but you can be certain that if the answers to the four questions on the left do not address the concerns on the right, so who has the right to create new units of money? If the answer to that question in our monetary system policy is that the people who have the right to create new units of money do not have to consider or take into account local sovereignty or ecological sustainability or social sustainability when they do that, then you can be certain that if the monetary system is compatible with local sovereignty and is supportive of ecological sustainability, that will have been an accident. It will not have been an intentional result of the design of the monetary system, because the answers to the questions that the monetary system policies address do not take into account social sustainability or local sovereignty or ecological sustainability. So without even doing any type of complicated empirical research, we can already know that if the monetary policy on the left, the answer to those questions, is not addressing these concerns, then it is very unlikely that they are sensitive to these concerns and are guiding these concerns in an appropriate way. And so just to come back to that idea that these monetary systems have changed over time and do change over time, this is a look at the United States, two different eras of the dollar monetary system, and you can see these color codings here are like, red meaning not great, yellow meaning okay, and green meaning great. This is happening, and you can see that the monetary system that we had in the 1930s and 1960s was okay. It actually had a lot of transparency. It actually was, there were things that about the way that it was operating and the way new units of money were being put in the economy that were intentionally being done to try to reduce inequality. And in fact, during that time period, inequality was going down, poverty was going down in the country. And there were still rich people, and rich people were still getting rich, but poverty and inequality were going down. There were checks and balances in place, actually, in some respects, to make sure that local sovereignty was respected, though not in all cases, like that highway trust funding bill that I was talking about earlier. Social sustainability, similarly, but as far as I'm aware, none of the monetary systems the United States has ever had have explicitly taken into account concerns about ecological sustainability. Compare that to Germany with their monetary system between 1955 and 2000, when they gave up their monetary system and joined the euro monetary system. They had very strong local sovereignty protections and very strong social sustainability protections built into their monetary system to ensure that anytime new units of money were being added to the economy, they were not being added in ways that overwhelmed or overrid local authorities and local interests and local decision making, local government really, and also we're not overriding the welfare of the workers and the communities that we're going to actually be producing or hosting the production. So as you see here on the right, my ideal is that in the future, we will have monetary systems on this planet that are doing a great job of all of these things. And these are just some of the aspects or the characteristics, the outcomes that I particularly care about. But I'm not alone. There are other people in the Alliance for Just Money and other organizations that also consider these things to be important. And there are probably even more aspects that could be added to this list, but this is just exemplary. So in terms of my quest and why I'm making these videos and why I'm sharing them, is that my goal is to promote the idea that that these monetary systems exist, and we should look at them closely to determine whether or not they are promoting fair, reparative, and ecologically sound economies on the earth, and that what we do want is to have monetary systems that are doing that. Another way of stating what it is that I'm doing with these videos and why I'm doing this work is that I desire to see truly unjust and ecologically suicidal monetary systems abolished from the earth. I don't think that we need them. We have shown already that we can do better than that. And so to continue to operate monetary systems that do not, protect local sovereignty, the well-being of workers and communities, the well-being of our ecosystems that we depend on to survive, that doesn't make sense to me. I think we should get rid of them. We've shown that we can do better. We don't need to continue to go back to these regressive, damaging monetary system designs anymore, ever. So fundamental principles that guide my thinking on this is that I believe that everyone has a right to know that monetary systems exist, that they are distinct from the economic systems that we're more familiar with, that we have a right to understand fully how they function. We have a right to accurate information about their impacts on people, communities, and the planet. And we have a right to have influence over the priorities that are funded through money creation and the priorities that are defunded through money uncreation, which is a process that I haven't talked a lot about yet, but is actually very, very important. And I believe that we have a right to participate in holding the operators of our monetary systems accountable for any harm that may be caused by the ways in which they're creating new units of money and putting them into the economy. All right, I'll pause there and look forward to continuing in a future video.